Hello, everyone. This is Gorilla Peace Podcast, and this is Ep.2. Today, we're going to talk about media representation and violent, savage versus gentle giant image gorilla has in the public. And my name is Ashley again, and this is Fatima.
Yeah, what was your first experience with gorillas? When did you first hear about gorillas?
Actually, I would say my isn't like particularly what people usually have. Sorry, my cat is distracting. Because my grandpa actually is very obsessed with just the Discovery Channel in general. And growing up, he would just always have it on. Like I will walk by his room or like doing something, walk by like the living room, and he'll always be watching something about like nature or documentary. So yeah, my first experience of gorilla are actually just documentaries of gorilla. I feel like that's not very common for most people. It will like usually appear in cartoons or movies. But now, like last time, I thought about it and then I realized actually, like there were probably just gorillas. And so I would say I actually had, I guess, quite accurate representations of gorilla. And I like a lot of what I watched when I was younger, and like they weren't necessarily bad representations, but actually they were usually used to describe humans as weird looking or like ugly. But I guess if you put like gorilla imagery onto a human, if that's the beauty standard, then yeah. it's not that wrong, but it's not necessarily meaning savage or something like King Kong. Yeah, what about you?
For me, it was probably Tarzan. As sad as it sounds, I think that my first encounter, like actually, like really looking into them, was probably Tarzan. So I didn't have a necessarily violent or brutish image of them at first, just because they're seen as more nurturing and caring and Tarzan like the mom, and it was nice to see.
Yeah.
I've never actually watched the movie King Kong, but I know
Mm.
that King Kong is like a very famous movie, and I think it kind of sets like a basis of gorilla portrayal
I
in media.
haven't necessarily either because I feel like our generation, like we were too young for King Kong at the time. It
Yeah,
came out in 2005 as like the movie of that year,
yeah.
um but I only watched it until like I was actually studying cinema and talking about films, and because it's such like important film about like special effects and everything, that's how we like watched it in class. Otherwise, I have never watched it either. And another one that is pretty common, I wouldn't say is like my only take, well, not my only take on my only influence. Most of them I got from documentary, but I also watched The Jungle Book, I remember. And there was a gorilla in there. I think there was a gorilla. There was like a giant one, right?
And
There's
or was that I think it was an orangutan.
oh, was it?
Yeah,
Orangutan?
I think it was an orangutan.
Hmm.
Because they're
Maybe
in
I got it
India,
wrong then.
right? No?
Does
Are they?
India have does India have orangutan? I thought it's only in Indonesia.
That's strange. I don't know. I would have to look at. Let me see. I think
I
is the Jungle Book because Mowgli is supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, I know. He is supposed to be Indian. But I think it was either like a giant monkey or a gorilla or
Yeah,
something.
it was an orangutan. It looks like an orangutan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you
Then
look
I
at the
probably got it wrong.
yeah, the King Kong. There's a King Kong movie that came out in the early 1930s as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that also set it up. I believe actually that the image of kidnapping a woman by a gorilla and then running away with that
Mm.
woman is originated from an artist in the 1880s, I think. Yeah, it was a French sculptor who won a medal in 1887 for his sculpture called Gorilla Carrying Off a Woman. And he was French. So I think that it wrongly depicted the behavior of gorillas at the time. And that kind of set it off with the whole King Kong movie and a lot of other things. I think, like you mentioned earlier with anime, I think we had that conversation last time where I was wondering if Goku was a gorilla or not, and it turns out that in the anime they designed his body, like limb structure and face structure, like that of a gorilla, despite the fact that he's supposed to be a monkey. But again, it's like this image of like a violent, brutish, savage-looking thing that's, you know, not really caring at all. So it's like yeah, it shows up quite a bit
Yeah.
in a negative way.
Yeah, I just searched it up. Yeah, the original movie is in 1933, but there were stories and I guess both tales and also like images that circulated way before that as well.
Yeah.
And I just looked up the Jungle Book pictures as well. The King Louis is a orangutan, but I just find it so fascinating that they would have like portray him this way because there's so much of solitary animals. They have like I remember like hordes, like the amount of monkeys that surrounded like the temple he was in, right? And then after we learned about orangutan, we realized like they are literally like alone all the time.
Yeah.
Like they are like gentle beings, and that's how like he was kind of portrayed. He was loud, but he was gentle, but like he I was like surprised now looking back he would have like so many companions because that would be like impossible for them.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to gorilla portrayal, for the longest time in history, they have been portrayed in a negative manner. That start to change, I think, starting with the turn of the century, when Coco was introduced to the public. That was a long experiment. I think it ranged almost 30 years, and with Coco came Michael, and I think that the public started to realize that they're not violent apes. They're actually beings of self-awareness and emotion, and that really helped change their image, I think. And not only just with gorillas, I think that people started to care more about whales and wildlife in general. It
Yeah.
started to change.
Yeah. I would say I was kind of surprised how they were portrayed at first, but then when I realized that actually humans weren't actually portraying gorilla in specifically. It's more like you see in gorilla and your imagination and your fantasy of a gorilla. And they were portraying that instead of how they behaved, kind of similar to sharks, if you think about it. Ever
Yeah.
since the movie of Jaws, people have been really afraid of sharks, but you know, like the amount of people die from sharks is less than like dying from vending machine per year. So really, it's more like your fantasy and your imagination of this animal, not necessarily even their behaviors, that were just strongly portrayed by the media, and now you just have this reflection, like automated, I don't know, instinct that they're scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it recently has been much better, and I know that I know, especially as I said before, like as I've watched in anime, Japanese culture is really obsessed with apes just in general, like monkeys and apes. So I feel like that have been like a good influence on my childhood, at least. Like they weren't like, sometimes they were be portrayed as like ugly and funny, but not like scary like in the Western media have. Yeah, and
I actually think that Coco's name is Japanese as well.
yeah, I think it's like Hanabiko.
Yeah.
Hanabiko. Yeah, Hanabiko. So Hanabi means like, I think flower. If not flower, is like firework or something
Yeah,
like that.
fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah. Hanabiko Koko. Yeah, and I first saw a documentary about Coco when I was in high school, but I knew that at that point she was already like very, very famous. I've heard about her before, like maybe when I was in like elementary school. And I was so sad when she passed away a few years ago.
Sad. Another
Yeah.
sad incident that happened. It was more of an outrageous thing, I think, in my opinion. Harambe.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about Harambe?
I that was like the talk of the internet. Obviously, I'm not supportive of them killing Harambe. And like the most outrageous thing was that they were saying that was the only way that the boy could have been safe, which no. Like if you tranquilized him, actually it's easier for him to have rage before actually calming down because he's shot by something. Like when you're shot by something, when you're an animal, even if you're human, but like when you're an animal, you obviously have like this involuntary reaction. Like you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
Not like, and here's the thing, like gorillas are strong creatures. They're very strong creatures, no matter if they if they choose to be violent, obviously they could hurt someone really bad, but they're naturally gentle creatures, especially if you see the way he's interacting with the boy. Like if for people that have actually watched the video, you'll see that he's not trying to hurt the boy. He might accidentally hurt the boy by dragging him or like trying to take him over,
Yeah.
because he's just strong. Like when you're trying to like break, like when you're trying to take something so fragile, sometimes you end up breaking it a little bit, but that's not his intention. You can see like he's not beating the boy up, he's not throwing the boy everywhere like in the air.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense for him to do that. Um, I,
Yeah,
I think that because they're such easily stressed creatures too, I think that people screaming at him and getting loud made him feel even more flustered, and he was curious about the child. Um, I don't know why the parents weren't held responsible for this event because it's your child, and I don't think that, it's necessarily very easy for like a toddler to climb over a fence and
yeah,
jump around it. I don't know how they missed out on this, but it
yeah,
also comes to the whole part of why zoos are designed in a manner to look down on anyways, because they clearly don't respect the privacy and um, feelings of gorillas in that sense, because I feel that like they get just stressed out by having people watch them from above and in behind glass windows and all of those things. So I completely disagree with the killing of Harambe. I don't think that he meant to harm anybody. I think he was really curious. He
yeah,
was a human child, right?
yeah.
So
And I'll just summarize like the actual happening just in case people that don't know this incident.
yeah,
So the killing of Harambe is something that happened in the May of 2016. A 3-year-old boy climbed into a gorilla enclosure at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden and was grabbed and dragged by Harambe. A 17-year-old Western lowland gorilla, he was a silverback. So fearing for the boy's life, a zoo worker shot and killed Harambe. So, not even tranquilized, um, just shot and killed Harambe. And that really triggered the internet at that time. Yeah,
yeah,
because people were, well, first of all, whenever someone, well, a child or someone climbs into like an animal enclosure, it will always be in the news. And especially in this incident, the boy was dragged by the gorilla. But after the internet was outraged after seeing the actual footage, and people were saying that he wasn't trying to hurt the boy, like fearing for the boy's life wasn't necessarily like an accurate description with the way how he's treating. We'll probably put the video on the side for people that are watching in video. Yeah, and I believe there has been various incidents where children have fallen into the enclosure, which I feel like don't do that. Like, not to the kids, to the parents. Like, don't have them running around. Like, have your children on leash if necessary. Just like make sure it's a zoo. Like, don't have them running around, running into the enclosures. Just for the safety and of the children and also the animals. But
I actually also think that the zookeepers were not particularly close with Harambe because
yeah,
they definitely recognized his behavior and analyzed whether or not he was flustered or agitated, or, I think they didn't analyze his behavior very well, and they made assumptions about him and just decided to kill him off instead, despite the fact that um, there could have been better preventative measures.
yeah, we were talking that if any of the zookeepers were actually close with the gorilla, they could definitely go into the enclosure, or like distract him into somewhere else, and then another person would be able to grab the boy. Just because the enclosure was pretty big, it's not like there's only one part of it, and they would usually all have like, like for those ones they have enclosures in different like doors, but then you can probably attract them to one door and open that door and open the gate, and then have him isolated over there instead of choosing to shoot him. So general general opinion is that there are so many more options than shooting him, and then people were also saying, what's the moral of shooting a gorilla, because they're so intelligent and quite close to humans, and what are the emotions Harambe actually felt towards the boy? As we know, they, especially silverbacks, if they do have a family, they're really gentle fathers. So it's possible that he was just trying to care for the boy, and instead he just got shot dead. Yeah, it's
I
the
don't think that, like, and maybe many people don't know that, but gorillas don't actually kill and eat prey.
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
vegetarian.
And yeah, I think that's another thing that's like wrongly portrayed in the media as well. Like, people assume, because monkeys are really well portrayed in the media, like most commonly portrayed in the media,
Yeah,
more than any other ape. Oh well, they're not necessarily apes, but any other like well, they are
primate.
apes, but not great apes. Yeah. So just like they're the most common, and monkeys, a lot of monkeys eat anything, and some of them, even chimpanzees, they eat meat and they kill prey, and chimpanzees eat monkeys too. So like, it's seen as this really violent behavior, but I guess not many people associate gorillas with vegetarianism.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
they are
difficult
so
to
big and so
they're so
strong.
big. Yeah, I mean, they are the largest primate, but
Yeah,
it's difficult to. I don't believe he would have smashed him for fun either.
yeah.
It was just a little bit of
It's
a.
not fun for him to smash an animal. Like,
Yeah,
they don't do that. They just don't do that.
I don't think a child is a threat to a silverback.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have
th-
attacked.
they're not intimidated. If they're not intimidated, they wouldn't strike an attack. And like, a small creature, a small helpless creature is not very intimidating, especially when the gorilla has all the control, which means, like, unless there was like a strong accident of the Harambe hurting the boy, then there really
Yeah,
wouldn't be possible for him to, like, yeah. And people were screaming at this situation, like, live. That didn't help either. And I know
and the
the
boy
boy,
was crying and
yeah,
screaming.
the boy was crying, but like, he didn't seem to be fazed by the boy crying, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, he wasn't like shut up or like panicking. He wasn't phased, but because I'm sure like any other small animal or like small gorilla, they, if they're frustrated, they will also be very loud. I'm sure that's the case for any frustrated small being.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Moral of the story is the media does not necessarily portray gorillas in a proper manner, and what people should know that is gorillas are not very violent creatures. They're gentle, they're kind, they're compassionate, they understand a lot of things about their life, and they have the self-awareness, they self-recognize themselves too, like Coco did, for instance. And in fact, I find it very astonishing that she was even able to rhyme, because she named her cat All Ball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're fascinating creatures, and I think that we're not giving them enough credit.
Yeah, but I do think, especially in the case of Harambe, in even though it just raised like an internet outrage, it's kind of like a positive portrayal on gorillas, because
Yeah.
now that there are more people saying that this is not the right way to do it, and they're looking more into the human side of gorillas, it's a nice thing, really. And yeah, I was watching a documentary as well on Curiosity Stream. I don't remember the name. Maybe I'll try to put it on the side.
Mhm.
But it's about a Western lowland gorilla group with a silverback dad, and one of the young gorilla is has only one arm. So he faced an attack from another group, and then his mother got taken, I think, or killed. I don't remember, but he was left there to die with only one arm ripped off.
Yeah.
So everyone thought that he wouldn't survive, but he did survive. And now that he can't climb up on trees, well, he's trying to. I think as he get older, it might be even harder. But he wouldn't keep up because gorillas are knuckle walkers, right?
Yes, they
So
are.
everyone are walking quite fast through the forest, but he wouldn't be able to keep up because he only has one hand. So most of the time he will walk on his back legs, and he will also help it with his right arm. But the silverback will actually like walk a bit further, and then the blackbacks in the group, his brothers probably, will just keep walking, but the silverback will just stay there and wait for him to catch up.
Mhm.
The nice thing is that he wouldn't, sometimes he would carry him in his arm, but most of the time he would just let him walk by himself, which makes the small gorilla feel like he's still really independent but not left by the group. I felt like that was really nice. And another thing is that they would go on trees, climb up really high.
Yeah.
For Western lowland gorillas, most of their fruits they get is really high on the trees, and so they would climb up on the trees. But the small little one wouldn't be able to climb up because he only has one arm, right? So he would just stay on the ground and forage whatever is left for him. So the silverback will actually break a lot of branches on top. So when he's breaking a lot of the branches, a lot of food will fall off, and so the little one can just feed off of whatever is left behind. There's plenty of food then, yeah. So even more than the female gorillas in the group, the silverback is really caring for his children, and especially for those that need like special care. I felt like that's really amazing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's cool. I haven't heard of it, but definitely look into it too.
Yeah, I'll send you. I think I'll probably find it in my watch list, probably. Yeah, it's really interesting. Um,
And I guess with the turn of the century, things are getting better. I think people are understanding more and more that the importance of wildlife, and especially great apes in particular. We have them at the point of extinction almost, and we have to take care of them. We have to help them out, and make sure that whatever damage we did, we reduce and transform into allowing them to regain some control of their own habitat.
yeah, definitely.
One way of doing that is definitely changing the way that we portray them in media, in order to make them, um, show the world how amazing these apes are, and if we lose them, we cannot bring them back again. So
Yeah, it really is. there really is a differentiation between people just using the gorilla imagery and people that are willing to actually look into gorillas and study them.
Yeah.
For people that are just for a little bit that are willing to watch actual gorilla videos or gorilla stories scientifically and documentaries and stuff like that, they'll know the kind of creatures they are. um Otherwise, if you're just for gorilla imagery, there is still very much misrepresentation. But I wouldn't say at this point, I wouldn't say it's fair for people to stop using them, but because they have became like a cultural icon, especially for King Kong, or like the screaming gorilla beating his chest. It's like a sign of frustration. Yeah, and also like the giant
The
hands, what
canine.
are they? The canines, which they don't really show unless they're yawning or screaming. But yeah, even when we were creating this podcast and we were searching for names, I was searching gorilla on both SoundCloud and Instagram. Like it came up with either it was like football related things where they were using gorilla because I guess the muscles. I mean, I can understand like the muscles and like
They're
everything.
strong.
Yeah, and then otherwise it's like they're mostly, I think there was another one, was like a car shop,
Yeah.
literally like a car fix shop, and with like gorilla imagery. They are really really focused on the masculine imagery of
Yeah.
gorillas. Yeah, which
Which is like, now that I think about it, you're right. I don't think they portray any female gorillas in media.
yeah, definitely, especially silverbacks. They're like the focus of the century.
Yeah.
Other than Coco, I haven't really heard much
I
other
haven't seen
female
any
gorillas.
cartoons. I haven't seen any movies. I haven't. I mean, maybe Tarzan would be considered one because,
Yeah, Tarzan has the group, but
yeah. But other than that, I don't think they're very popular. And I think you're right. They do take this whole masculinity in mind when they portray gorillas like the big and strong and violent type, of animal that they want to
yeah,
show.
yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And most often I see that there is almost only portrayal of Western lowland gorillas, if you have noticed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I get that they are the most common, and and they're probably I will say easier to study because of their location. But yeah, it's good that if there aren't any more representations of the other kinds of gorillas. Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
there was also another. Wait, let me search it up. But there was a really handsome gorilla that got like internet famous in Japan because he's handsome.
what made him so handsome?
Here, I'll search it up. I think it's just like he's just handsome. Yeah, his name is Shabani. So, oh, she's a female gorilla. Wait.
Oh,
Oh no, it's a male gorilla. Never mind. It's a male gorilla. His name is Shabani. So
I'm just
Shabani.
looking at his pictures right now.
Yeah. And he gained publicity in the Higashiyama Zoo when he was 10 years old. I just, I have
Uh,
no idea. Like,
he is handsome.
yeah, people were just like this literally this news article just says Japanese woman go ape over surprisingly handsome gorilla. I like I like how they say go ape over
And it's,
surprisingly handsome gorilla. Why is this surprising?
he poses really nicely for the
Yeah, he
camera.
poses really nicely and like has this presence, really
Uh,
strong
I
presence.
saw another title. It says ridiculously photogenic gorilla. So
He is like more, if you see his I'll put his pictures on the side, but like he's kind of like, I don't know if this is discrimination, but he kind of looks like The Rock when he's like smizing. You know what I mean? Like in that in that movie, like when like The Rock is like looking direct into the camera. I'm not saying like he looks like a monkey, but I'm just saying like the posture is like the way he models is like
Yeah, yeah.
that like strong statue.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that too, I guess. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, I'm glad like the image of gorillas are slowly
He
changing.
looks like he's in a movie. He's like this.
I've posted quite a bit. Maybe I'll we'll attach a few pictures of him as well
Yeah, definitely.
and see share those with other people.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think this brings us to the end of episode 2
Yeah.
of gorillas in media and their misrepresentation. And yeah, I hope you guys liked it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and shoot us an email. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time. And I think our topic for next time is gorilla experiments. So we'll discuss that next
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.